Yay, I'm so excited. My favorite person in the world, James Robinson. Oh my God. Get on camera.
Hi.
Hi, honey. Where's your face?
Wait, did it not come up? Did I hit the wrong
No,
one?
you have to get on the camera. Oh, I'm
There it
so
is.
super excited. Oh, there you are. Yay.
Hi. How are
Hi.
you? You look
I'm great.
fantastic. I'm
Thank you.
loving the hair. I love the ghost pink now.
Thank you, honey. Oh my God, I've been waiting weeks and weeks and months to get you on this show. You know it's true.
I
Girl,
do
you
know.
know it's true. You know it's true. And for everybody, this is the super talented. He doesn't, this is the super talented James Robinson. I mean,
Hello.
everybody, for you guys, I love him. I adore him. He's so multi-talented. And I've literally been asking him for months to come on to Dina Six TV. So today, here he is.
Hi, guys. Hey, Dina. It's so good to see you. I love your show so much.
Oh, honey, thanks so much. Where are we going to start? Where would you like to start? You want to tell everybody where you're from, or you
Well, I'll
want
tell
to start?
everybody where I'm from.
This is
getting
all about
started.
your career. Keep it in mind. It's all about your talents. It's an
Well,
entertainment show.
I am super excited to talk about my entertainment and my talent. I am one of those lucky ones that was gifted with the gift of performance in my bones. I was lucky enough to be raised in the deep South, in South Georgia, near the great Okefenokee. Shout out to Waycross, Georgia. Hey, hey, Waycross in the house. Go
You're in LA
Bulldogs.
though. He's in LA for everybody.
I'm in Los Angeles right now. I've turned into definitely a California girl.
Yeah.
But anywho,
Yeah.
I'm originally from South Georgia. I have been singing and performing since as long as I can remember. I was raised by my grandparents and put into the Baptist church at the very, very first beginnings. And that's where it all started for me. Singing in the gospel in the Baptist church and having all this energy. I think I was one of those kids that probably had more energy than anybody in the entire world, all put into this tiny little bundle that just wanted to just do so much and learn so much. So it all started because my grandparents sat me in front of the television and I watched a good old school shows like the Carol Burnett show and the Flip Wilson show. So variety shows were the things that got me interested. So I'm sure that's where a lot of my little inner talents come from, is from just being a little kid absorbing all those amazing talents and growing up and becoming a ridiculous music nerd. I learned how to play the recorder in 6th grade. I went to
What's the recorder, honey?
Recorder is it's one of those little bitty plastic black flutes. You may have seen them. They're plastic, and it was one of the first things you learned back in the day when you learned introduction to the music. I think we learned how to play "Mary Had a Little Lamb" or something on it. Do 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 do. Which was an introduction. That way they found out if kids had like a musical inclination, and then the next step would be to get them into a band instrument or something like that. So that's where I started. I started learning trumpet in the 6th grade, and I was raised in a very poor neighborhood in South Georgia, projects and all. Shout out to McDonald Street Elementary School. We came up. It was a very lower middle income school, and my grandparents figured out how to get me that trumpet. I think they had like a loan program, but that's where it started. I started playing trumpet and singing in the choir, and I just kept going. And by the time I graduated high school, I was a band nerd and learned how to play and taught myself basically how to play about 10 instruments by the time I left. So I started out on trumpet and went to trombone. My band director, Mr. Richard Marshall, asked me if I would play trombone in junior high school. And I was always like, okay, give it to me, I'll learn it. And I learned it. And listen, you know how big a trombone is, right? I was only maybe 4'9" at the time, and my little arms trying to get to the last part was so funny. But that's where it started. And I eventually taught myself how to transition from trumpet to baritone in high school. Daniel Bird, my band director, I took a bunch of instruments home. I would take my friends' instruments home and borrow them. I didn't know anything about running around and being crazy and out in the streets. By the time I learned that I could go home and practice And my grandparents, who were definitely in their like 70s by the time they were raising me, they got nothing but joy because I would come home and I would bring different instruments. I brought oboes, bassoons, and when I brought home a clarinet, that's when I fell in love. I discovered a clarinet, and my band director said, there's no way you'll ever go from playing a brass instrument to playing a clarinet. And when did you learn how to play clarinet anyway? I said, I taught myself. He said,
Oh, there.
he said, you did not. And he goes, well, here, play this and you can get in the band. I went home and practiced it, played it, got in the band, made first year. My senior year, I was an all-state clarinet player. And that is where my journey really took off. And I knew then that performing was my gift. And when I saw Prince and Purple Rain, okay, I said,
it changed everybody.
I want to do that. I want to do that.
Wow.
So that's what happened. And, you know, and I was a singer and I'm a dancer. I was just one of those kids that really wanted to create, and we didn't have very much money. So whenever I had an opportunity to take any classes, I was one of those kids that studied. I'd go and take from Miss Ann Brown, who recognized this talented little gay Black boy running around this town who wants to pick up a baton and twirl a rifle. She saw something else in me as well as talent, and she often let me slide by and take in some of her classes. And I would go home and I would practice. Girl, I would practice so long. I would be out under those street lights, because in South Georgia, it could be warm for about 380 days out of the year.
Yeah. Yes, I know very well.
Yeah, so that's where it all kept going. I learned and I started performing there and went and kept auditioning. South Georgia in the 70s and 80s, a lot of people may not realize that when I'm talking near the Georgia-Florida border, where the great Okefenokee Swamp is where I'm from.
Wow.
And, growing up in that area and having to learn and be a creative, believe me, I was called every name under the book since I was able to walk. I've walked exactly the same way my entire life. So, boop, 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 you know how I walk. And so I went through all of the trials and tribulations of growing up in South Georgia, and not a lot of Black people, because we're doing things that white people did. It's very segregated. And I always wanted to just go do everything. I didn't understand. I couldn't process why I could do it. And my grandparents never, ever, ever told me no. That was the most amazing thing. And I was 10 years old and I auditioned for my first contest. It was at the 4-H club. And I was so excited. I had a big old afro, 10 years old. My granddaddy drove me all the way out there to the audition. And God bless him, Mr. Willie Character in Waycross, Georgia, was the most amazing choral director, and he was one of the judges. A Black man, not far, lived near me, and I went in there with my little cassette tape. It was called Celebration by Kool and the Gang. Celebrate good time, come on, bum, 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 bum. Yes, that was what I sang, and I sang to the tape. Okay, I didn't know anything about having your own music or piano player or any of that, a headshot or a resume. What's that? I came in there with my tape, with my attitude, like, I'm gonna sing this song. I did all my choreography. I did the whole thing myself, and I won.
Right.
And Mr. Character pulled me aside and he said, listen, I'm gonna help you and I'm gonna mentor you. Oh, I get emotional. And I'm going to take you to the next level. There's an audition coming up for a statewide performing group. Clovers and Company, I'm gonna help you get in there and you're gonna audition for it. I was like, oh, statewide company, little old Waycross, Georgia. I can never forget going to that audition. My grandmama packed me some fried chicken and some biscuits, and we used to take shoe boxes. And I went up and I did my audition.
Don't tease me. That's my favorite food. Forget it.
Ooh, come on. Absolutely. It's therapy. There's therapy in fried chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I went up and I auditioned, and I was one of 2 Black people chosen to be in this first year statewide performing group.
Wow.
And I was amongst all of these amazing, gifted, talented kids. And literally they knew I came from a little project house, right? They're all taking voice lessons. I'd hear them warming up in the back going, oh. I said, well, I need to do that too. Oh.
Oh my God.
Oh man. And it's very interesting because my nickname that my grandfather called me is Rudy. Okay. Rudy. That's right, people. You heard it. And my solo in that year, I got a solo too. I was like, okay.
Wow.
I got a solo that year, and they did a toast to Motown. A lot of people may not realize that a lot of singers came out of Georgia, and it was a toast to Georgia singers like Little Richard, and so my song that I had to sing was Tutti Frutti on Rudy.
Wow.
Tutti Frutti on Rudy. And I thought to myself, this must be my song because my granddaddy calls me Rudy. It's my first song, my first solo ever. And it's Tutti Frutti on Rudy. Well, Tutti Frutti on Rudy. And that's where it began. I ended up doing, girl, there's so many, we could talk for hours because I was
so talented in so many things. You've done so many things.
I mean, the color guard is what took me to the next level. A lot of people may not know what color guard is, spinning flag and rifle. Little black guy in South Georgia. Yes, I was in Bugle Corps. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too, for a short time. I hated it. You loved it.
Well, little did I know, as a little black boy growing up in South Georgia in the projects, spinning that flag and that rifle and twirling that baton, would I ever be in the Olympics? And it was in 1996. I was in Atlanta, Georgia. I was in my 20s, and my grandparents were still alive at this point in time. And I went and auditioned for this group that was an adult color guard group. And before we know it, beyond imagination, we were involved and chosen to be in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
Wow.
And our group was also chosen because we were the professionals, we were all in our 20s, to also do some choreography. And so that was when I will never forget, it was 1996. And when I performed in the opening ceremonies, that was what really changed my life. It really put me on a trajectory. I was maybe 24, 25, to realize that if you can make it this far, you can keep going. And I ended up going to college and studying opera.
Wow. Studying opera. You're only 24 and we're into opera. It's crazy. These people have no idea. It's like, mind-blowing. James is going to perform for us tonight. So too,
just a quick little ditty.
I'm so excited about that too. Yeah, so what? I mean, it's you are constantly writing. You're a prolific writer, aren't you? And aren't you composing all the time?
I am composing all the time, writing all the time, and I just grew into learning how to harness all of these skills. Like when you're a kid and you have all these things and you're running around. Now that I'm older, I've learned to embrace and the fact that I have all these gifts and that I should use them as often as possible. And to not beat myself up when I don't use them. Artists, it's okay to take a break. Yeah. But when you get in it, you have to be in it. And I'm writing. If I'm not singing, I'm writing, I'm cooking, I'm tapping, I'm dancing, teaching my dogs how to sing and tap and dance, doing whatever I can. But always writing. The coronavirus is very interesting because when the coronavirus recently came about, and I was at home a lot. And, I think we've all gone through a lot of the emotional trauma and ups and downs, and especially as creatives with this. And this time period in my life is actually one of the best time periods I've ever had in my life. I mean, for some people, we're all going to get something different out of this time period. And for me, it was about rediscovering the true me, the true self, that little kid that was, get emotional, 10 years old, singing Celebration with that big old afro, who wasn't afraid of nothing. I wasn't scared of anything. And fear creeps in as you get older, and then, disappointments, and it stops you from pursuing your dreams. I left performing for many years and went into restaurant management full time. I was in New York and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of auditioning and running, and I decided to do management and recently started coming out of it. And I'm so glad I did, because now that I'm at home and have gone through my emotional dealings with the coronavirus, I've also had a reconnection with my family.
I know.
I had all this time. I went on this journey where I'm like, I need to find out, who am I? I was raised by my grandparents. My relationship with my mother was never great. And my mother and father separated really, really young, and I didn't have very much to do with the Robinson side of my family. I was mostly with my mom and the Holly side of my family. So it was, during this year, I was like, and I turned 50 last year. Hello, 50 will wake you up.
You're not scaring me. I'm going to be 60. 50's
Okay,
young.
talk about woke. Okay. But yeah, I decided to go on this journey, and I got on Ancestry and all of the types of things that I could find to find out who am I, where am I from, what have I been doing. And amazing enough, it must have been time, because within days of getting on it, you've seen the commercials on Ancestry. Ooh, you get a leaf. I was like, ooh, there's a leaf. I was wondering who it is. I go and I check on the leaf, and I see that it's one of my cousins who happens to be under the Robinson side of the family. And I'm like, could this really be after I hadn't seen my Robinson family in at least 45, 46 years, right? Could this really be someone that knows me? Bam. It was my cousin who was the record keeper of the Robinson family. They had been looking for me and my brothers and sisters for years.
My God.
Years.
Wow.
It has opened a door, a world that I never knew existed, that I had longed for. And it woke up so much inside of me, and it has woken up my creativity and reconnecting and finding more about your ancestry and who you are. And then finding out I have a famous uncle that I didn't even know.
You sent me his music. I cried. I thought it was beautiful.
Jesse Robinson, blues musician. He is now the front man for B.B. King's band.
Wow.
I'm like, that's my uncle.
Wow.
Now I definitely know where the musical side of the family came from.
Right. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's part of my journey, and it made me embrace a lot more about what my journey has been like. It's crazy how you forget what your journey is, right? You get on it, and you're in it, and then you start looking back over it, and you're like, wow. Oh yeah. Ooh, oh yeah.
I got a lot of oh yes. But age has a way of mellowing you out, and you get a lot less oh yes.
Yeah, and very thankful. When I was on my journey, I've been many places, leaving little Waycross, Georgia, trying to find myself. I headed out to San Francisco when I left college in 1998. I was a returning student back in college, and I decided to leave. I was done with opera. It was not working for me, and I was like, it's boring. I was like, but I'm so thankful I had it, because it created so much more for me. But we headed out west. Friends of mine moved to San Francisco. I'm going to find myself. It's 1998, and things did not go so well.
Right.
No.
Right.
Things, friends got wrapped up into the drugs, and money's gone. And before I knew it, here's this little guy from Waycross, Georgia, that had made it all the way to Olympics, is studying opera in college, and's got this going on. Homeless. Homeless in San Francisco, California, 1998, October. I'll never forget it. That thing scared me so much, but I was afraid without being afraid, because sometimes it's all right to be scared. It's all right to be afraid, but if you allow the fear to take over your life is when you don't succeed. And that was when it was the hardest time of my life. And I look back on those moments of wandering those streets and being homeless and thinking about, where am I? I can't go home, can't call my mother, can't call anybody. I didn't know any family. And all I had was my friends, and we were going to get through it, right? And we've always been very effeminate, as some people might say. Used to have a lot more hair than I do now. And at that point in time, in 1998, I was living with a hair weave expert. So I had hairer, which is different than hair. Hairer is when you've got hair. And I had hair.
I saw pictures. I loved it.
We all had hair, and with that hair is what was able to get me into the best homeless place I could possibly find in San Francisco, and it was a women's center. Because we were so feminine looking, we posed as transgenders,
right,
so that we could live at the women's center,
right,
which in San Francisco respected transgenders as women,
and was safer.
And it was safer. because the one we went to for the men, the very first night, it was
Yeah.
called Mission Rock. I thought there's no way we can do this. And someone said, y'all need to go to the women's shelter. I said, we can't. Well, maybe.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah, for a year.
Wow.
Working homeless for a year. Had jobs. We had to have jobs. I was working in the city in order to be able to stay there. Yeah, I worked at a place called the Tenderloin AIDS Research Center, TARC. It was a check-in, drop-in for HIV positive people. I was doing some counseling there. It was part of my job as like a drop-in counselor, the whole session. That's where I just started really learning even more and more. And to talk about the homeless, when you've gotten that low, right? And you're talking and you're seeing people that were even higher on the stature than you. You're meeting doctors, lawyers, all these amazing people. And that was when you realize that your life has been all right. Pick it up, shake it off. I headed to New York City where I met the man of my dreams. And that was in 2002. And my life has been just steady growing ever since. He met me, I was half homeless. Half homeless.
Wow, half homeless. How are you half homeless? I love it.
You know.
So, I love him too.
You know.
Your husband, tell everybody your husband's name. They've been together
Tommy Ashcraft, Tommy Rex Ashcraft.
Honey, you have hearts popping out of your head still. I mean, 18 years later, I'm so happy.
He's great. Wonderful, wonderful man that helped me start get my life back in order. And I started auditioning and performing in New York City and doing off Broadway. And here I am now. We live in the Valley, North Hollywood, 2 dogs.
My God, what an amazing journey. What an amazing story. It's just
crazy, right?
Mind blowing. I never met anybody so prolifically, just like multi-talented. I mean, just,
It's a gift. It was a gift. I mean, being raised by my grandparents and not being raised by my mother and her abusive relationships really was my saving grace.
Wow. Right.
I mean, I think all the time.
Honey, you're also the half cup full instead of the half cup empty. I mean, so it depends on your attitude.
Outlook. Yes.
Depends on your outlook.
Yeah.
So you're gonna perform? You're gonna get ready? You're gonna perform for us?
I would love to perform for you.
We're excited.
Well, I just started writing this, so it's really, really rough. But I just started writing the song, and it just thinking about family and what we're all going through with the coronavirus and how it can and we can't get to anybody. Like we're all like stuck in one place and how we can't get to anybody. So that's when I really started thinking about the song and I thought about it. It's called Home.
Wow.
Even if it's in your mind.
Beautiful, 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 honey. I can't wait to hear it.
Looking back, seems like I've been running with all my might, searching for something I thought I needed in my life. Like all those nights that I spent home with nothing to eat, when food was a blessing, a warm place to sleep, treat. And I think of all the time I wasted wandering them streets, only to find that what I was looking for was already inside me. I gotta get home. When you gotta get home, you don't have far to roam. Oh, as long as you get there in time. Oh, even if it's in your mind. playing dodgeball in the fields, riding out bikes all over town, trying to beat the street lights before we get in town. I can still hear grandmother say, boy, what you doing in them streets? If you get cold and hungry and need a place to sleep, boy, you gotta get to me home. I got to get home when you need to be home. You better get there in time, even if it's in your mind.
Oh my God, that was beautiful. I'm crying.
That's it.
Thank you so much, honey. I love you so much.
Love you guys too. Get home, even if it's in your
Thank you for
mind.
sharing
Okay.
that. You're the best.
Love you, Dina Six.
Love you too, honey.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Even if it's in your